Over the course of his lifetime, Anton had 6 psychotic breaks that required hospitalization. He recounted one, I've shared this story with some of you, where he was in an insane asylum, because that's what they still called it back in the middle of the 20th century. He was on the porch. It was July, and it was warm. He was laying on the porch, watching the moon transverse across the sky, when all of a sudden, there on the face of the full moon, he saw it. A sign. His sign. He knew it was his sign. God had called him to be a Messiah. He was the one that was going to bring tremendous change to the world. He was going to rescue the world. And he needed to confirm it. And there was an attendant standing there. He says, "A sign! Do you see it? Do you see it? A sign on the moon." The attendant looks up and says, "Oh yeah, we've been after them to get that fixed." So rip in the screen. Just like that, Anton's psychotic break lifted. What is it with signs? They're always celestial, it seems like. Here's our sign. The star of the Epiphany. The star of Christmas. And without fail, this time of year, good-meaning Christians always pester astronomers. And they say, can you figure out what that star was? The star of Bethlehem. Was it a supernova? Maybe it was a conjunction of planets. Can you tell us? What's that about? We want to take this mythical sign and stamp it into our history. There's a reason for that. If I can point to the star that did that, then I own it. And more importantly, fooling around with that stuff takes the focus off of what the story's all about. The story of illumination in our Christian story, the unfolding of the stories of Jesus being the Christ, bringing light into the world, illuminating our world in ways of how we can live with each other and with ourselves in ways of peace. But no, I'd rather talk about supernovas and alignment of planet. You see? Now there's another more pernicious thing about signs that I've noticed with myself. I can have a sign, and a sign is an epiphany, a revelation. So I have this epiphany, and I go, whoa, yes, I see. And this is going to call me to do this. And wait a minute. Now, what was it Mary Jo told me to pick up at the grocery store? Oh, wait. There's my Twitter notice. Yeah. Have you seen those new cars that they're going to have at the CES? They're going to drive themselves. Well, I wonder what's on. Downton Abbey's on tonight. Yeah. Oh. Wait a minute. Wasn't there something about a sign? What was it about a sign? And that moment of clarity fades with my forgetfulness and distraction. Something else I've learned about signs, when I ignore them, they come back in even more fierce terms. I ignored Columbine. I ignored Virginia Tech. The Sikh temple where everybody got shot. I forgot about that. Movie theater out in Aurora. Yeah, but that was last year. I forgot about that. There's only one thing I can do in this forgetfulness. God, forgive me. Forgive me. I forgot. And in forgetting that, I forgot that. Because in that forgetfulness, I said, I can't take on the NRA. They're just too powerful. But that sign says, I have filled you with light, and the light that I have filled you with can change the world. But I don't want to take on this country that seems to want to just discard people with mental illnesses. 80% of our prison population, warehoused mental patients. I can't take on the... Look at the trouble they're having just getting the debt ceiling, and that sign, it convicts me. I have filled you with light. And that light that I have filled you with can change the world if I let it out. Now my prayer, God, don't let me forget Sandy Hook. Enough. Enough. You have filled me with the light of incarnation. Let me now be a light in this world to say no to irresponsible gun ownership, to say no to the warehousing of human beings in a system that will do nothing for them except drive them further into their delusions and their sickness. God, what does that say about me? What does that say about us? Signs are given to us for a purpose. To call us to the deeper truth of who we are. God's own children who can change the world. Anton Boysen laid there and saw his sign, and then he thought it was just a delusion. But his psychotic break lifted in that moment, and it took him 2 weeks to convince the staff in the mental health hospital that it had lifted. And he realized that, yes, that was a sign. It was a sign to help me see that I was only perceived as a diagnosis and not a human being. I'm sorry, you don't fit in your diagnosis. You need to have a psychotic break. And he decided that that sign and that one, since he was a Christian, would empower him. And he began clinical pastoral education. Every Episcopal priest is required to do a basic unit of clinical pastoral education. A mental hospital, that's where I did mine. A medical hospital, other clinical settings, to help us understand that the first thing is we're working with human beings, not a diagnosis. You're not cancer. You're not leukemia. You're not a heart attack. You're not a schizophrenic. You're not a psychotic. You're not a bipolar. You are a human being. You are a child of God, and I will treat you as God's own child. Signs. We try to stamp them into reality so we can make them go away, or I can forget them. Did you see it when you drove in this morning? Out in our front yard? They are all our children. Michael Finland's not going to let us forget. That banner's going to stay up. Not only to help us remember, but to help our whole community remember sign has been given to us. Anton Boysen changed the world with his sign. There's ours. How about we change the world as well?